this example, I'm going to show how to draw data from the Data Summaries section of the Virtual Victoriana website. This is the Data Summary section, and this one, unlike the other section, does pull up a summary of data to begin with. And what I'm going to look for are teachers. Now, if we scan down through here, we can see we have data in many different categories, and then within that, different data types. If I skip forward a few pages, here are all the different kinds of employment. And in particular, I'm looking for teachers. So the data category that I'm looking for will be employment. The data element will be teachers. So I'm going to restrict things. So I have employment and teachers, and I'm particularly interested in female teachers. So I'll go ahead and apply. And now I have a list of just one record for each location, each civil parish, with the number of teachers, female teachers, in each of those locations. So I'll, again, download this as a comma-separated value file, which Excel can open. So I have this data. Now the other thing that I'm going to want to do is take into account that different parishes had different numbers of people living in them. So what I will want to do is go back and get the general listing again. And one of the pieces of information that I have is just population. So here are the different kinds of employment, and then under employment we just have people. This is the actual population for the whole district. And I'm going to look for just females. So my data category again will be employment. My data element will be people. That will be the population of the parish, and I will just be looking for women. Here again, I have one entry per civil parish with a count of the number of women in the parish. And these are all female persons. I could do something to try to restrict this to adults. There are data summaries that I have for that, but this will be sufficient because I really just want to be able to compare the proportion. So I want to see out of 8,362 women in the civil parish of St. Martin in the Field, how many of them were teachers. So I'll go ahead and download this file. Now in both cases, these civil parishes should be in the same order. Let's just take a look. So we have Kensington, Chelsea, St. George, Westminster. Let's take a look at the second one. Kensington, Chelsea, St. George, Westminster. These are in the same order that they were in the other file that I pulled. So what I'm going to do, so here I'm going to select the particular range of cells that I want to copy by clicking in the upper left-hand corner and shift-clicking in the lower right-hand corner. And if I right-click, I can copy and then go back to my other spreadsheet. This is the one with the teachers. And right-click, paste. And now I can just verify. I really do not need these columns. These are things that are going to be exactly the same. So is this one. But I want to just verify Kensington, Kensington, and just kind of go down. Clerkenwell, Stepney. And generally, if you've got the same number of rows and most of them look the same, you're pretty good. So now I know that I have this many teachers and this many women in the whole civil parish. In fact, I can get rid of these two rows, change this to teachers, female teachers, but I'm just going to remember that, and women, and proportion. And here I'm going to enter a formula. So I type equals and just make this the number of teachers out of the whole population. So this value divided by this value, you can see that a little bit more than 2% of them, a little bit more than 2% of the women in Kensington are teachers. And by dragging the corner down to extend this, I can see, okay, now I've got the same formula all the way across. Now, this can be a little bit hard to read because depending on how the calculation works out, you have a different number of significant digits. So what I'm going to do is select all of these this whole column, and I'm going to format for %. Okay, that's a lot easier to read. So now we see that even though in Kensington only 2% of the women are teachers, that's still fairly high compared to a lot of the other parishes, but not as high as Hampstead. That's the parish where the most women are teachers, the highest percentage. It's also a parish with a very low population, so that's kind of interesting. So I know at this point that the proportion varies across different civil parishes, and I want to try to find out what the mean value is. So again, I'm interested in proportion. So I'm going to create some formulas over here. For the mean value, we use the average function in Excel. Select the entire range of values that we want to take the average of. Make sure to close those parentheses. The mean is 1%. Now, in this case, I don't want 1%. I want more significant digits than that. So I'm going to add in 2 significant digits. So I know it's 1.38%. I wonder how much spread there is. So I want to find out how much variance there is, and I can do this in Excel with the standard deviation function. I'm going to use, you have a number of different ones available here. You can use a population or a sample. I'm going to go with the sample version. And again, select these values or the range of values. And my standard deviation, I think I'll probably make this not a percentage. Just change that to a comma. Add a couple more significant digits. Not quite that many. Let's try to make it easy to look at these. Okay, so 0.0138 is the mean, and about half of that value is the standard deviation. So the standard deviation is making this quite a large spread around the mean. Even though it seems like half of a percent is a pretty small amount, well, if you're talking about 1.3%, half of a percent, almost 0.6%, is pretty large compared to that mean. So we're talking about a curve that's gonna go way spread out. Those are the main things that I want you to calculate for this first project for each variable. If you have the Excel Analysis ToolPak installed, you can also calculate descriptive statistics on a variable fairly simply. Go to Data, Data Analysis, click Descriptive Statistics, and click OK. Make sure that you have the variable selected, the column that you want to conduct the statistics on, and it is a column in my spreadsheet. I have my label in the first row, and I'm going to calculate the results in an output range. I'm going to just put it over here. Only need that to be in there once. And I'm going to just calculate the summary statistics. And this builds us a nice table. So here we see I've got the mean. This is the same mean that I calculated up here. Standard deviation, same value I have up here, and some other values, the median, which is kind of an interesting value to have, skew, kurtosis. These are things that we will discuss in a little bit more detail later in the course. There is no mode value here. There's no single value that occurs more than once, multiple times. And I see that I have 36 records, so I get a count here as well. So this is kind of handy to have. I want you to do it both ways for this week's project. Do this the manual way with the average, do the calculation and the standard deviation, and then go on, and if you have the ToolPak installed, you can calculate this. Now the issue here is that these are actual values. These are not formula. So if you were to then add another row of data here or some more data in multiple rows, you would have to redo all of this with the ToolPak again. Whereas here, you could just extend this range and have new values be incorporated into your results. So I think it's important that you know how to do both of these, and that's why I'm asking you to do both.